North Carolina. He was mayor at one time. He married a very wealthy woman who worked at, a very famous company, and he murdered her. And it wasn't the only murder that he did. He also pushed someone else down a flight of stairs back in Germany. And so they were going to try to get him, try to try him on that murder as well. But he did get convicted, and they did a movie about him, a French movie producer, director. Yeah, they did that Staircase or whatever it was.
Staircase,
they
right.
did that. Right, remember that?
Oh, it was great. It was excellent, yeah.
That was an excellent little docu, wasn't it? Oh, my gosh. And so they did a little movie about it, and he had a lawyer that was kind of like Garrigus, claiming that he could have never done it. And it turned out he had gay boyfriends. He was perusing gay pornography, and he was hiring gay escorts. So he had a secret homosexual life too. Not that Scott Peterson did, but someone claims that Scott Peterson did too.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, and then what other cases were you working on too?
Well, we did. Remember when that girl from Utah?
Was
murdered, by her husband, and she was pregnant, and that was, I hate not remembering these girls because, we worked so hard on them. And we did Natalie Holloway for a little bit, but Natalie Holloway was so, actually so many places were covering Natalie Holloway that we didn't bother to worry about it too much. I mean, we paid attention to it, but after a while, we lost interest. But then when Joran Vandersloot was caught in Peru, I believe, or Chile, one of the two, he murdered another girl, and he's in prison in South America now.
Yeah, the one in Utah, that was very interesting because it was almost the same story. This guy claimed that
Mark Hacking.
Right, and they claimed they went on a camping trip. That he took the boys on a camping trip in the snow in Utah.
No, that was a different one.
Oh, different one?
I'm talking about Mark Hacking. Now you're talking about Susan, this other guy who killed himself and his little kids.
Yeah,
right?
with gasoline.
When his kids, right?
Yeah, when Child Protective Services outside the door. Yeah. Then which is the one you're talking about?
I was talking about Lori Hacking, and Mark Hacking was pretending to go to college and go to med school, and he murdered his wife in Utah right around in 2004. And Mark Hacking was another guy who led a double life, and he had lied to his wife about going to med school. He had a bunch of shady things going on, and he murdered her, and he put her in a dumpster, and they found her. And he had all these people that were in the Mormon community who were really trying to help him out and defended him, but he wound up convicted, and he's in prison now too.
And now, what about since the demise of HLN and Court TV? I kind of miss those days in some ways. You know what I mean? We used to follow the court cases. You don't have it anymore. Are you following any cases now like that?
No, my friends who used to blog with me, they send me little things here and there. Hey, did you pay any attention to this? And I'll glance at something once in a while, but I don't spend any time on it because I have so many other things that I'm doing. But there was this one case that Court TV had the trial of. Do you remember Damien Hassenkoff?
Oh, sure. I love that case.
And the Girly Chew case.
Yeah.
That was amazing. And that was about reptilians.
Yeah.
You know how he and his girlfriend Linda decided that there were reptilians and that there was some kind of alien. The people were aliens, and they belonged to that, an organization that was working on, I don't know. But Damien Hassenkoff, whose real name was Armand Chavez or something, he was a character. I paid attention to that case.
Yeah, that's a fascinating case. And he talked his girlfriend into, she thought she was a warrior. She bought a sword and everything like that to fight these alien reptilians, like you said, with underground bases. Yeah. Now, he's still in prison, right?
Yeah. He made a deal. He made a deal with the prosecution that he would admit to, what he did, and then if they would put him in a particular prison that wasn't, where he would probably not get his ass kicked, pardon my language. Yeah. So I don't know what happened with that, but I believe that he made a deal, and now he's in some kind of, prison that wasn't related to where he lived. And he was from Albuquerque. The murder took place in Albuquerque.
Yeah, and the girl with the sword who was there at the crime scene, we're pretty sure. He says,
Linda, yeah, she got convicted too.
Right, and
Linda.
he says later on, well, she was going to be my next victim. You're convicting someone who was also going to be my victim. That's a great story. I'd love to do a show about that. Can you think of a guest I could bring on for that show who's written a book or something?
Well, there was a guy who wrote a book about that, and he wrote the definitive book. It was an excellent book, and I think his name is Mark Horton. And I'm going to see. I did an interview with him.
Oh, great.
And back when I was blogging about it. And I believe it was called, I can't remember the name, something Sacrifice, but let me see. I think his name is Mark Horton. And he was from, maybe it was Horton, definitely Horton. He was from Oregon or Washington State. He was from the West Coast, the Northwest. But I'm trying to find his name. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You can send it to me after the show. Hey, but let me ask you a question.
I will.
Do you really listen?
Mark Horton.
Yeah, you said you listen to my show. Do you really listen to the show?
I absolutely do.
Okay.
I've listened to so many things. In fact, how I found you, Ed, was your interview with Dave McGuire, the late great Dave McGuire.
McGowan, yeah.
McGowan, I'm sorry. Yeah, the late great Dave McGowan, who I read. I read his blog for years. The whole Laurel Canyon thing, and he did all kinds of stuff. But I thought your interview with him on Program to Kill was just absolutely excellent.
Yeah,
it was so
I know.
Good.
We really hit it off.
That was an excellent book.
Yeah,
excellent book. So that, and there's certain subjects that you cover that I listen to all the time. So I listen to dozens of them.
Have you been following this thing with John S. Captain and Tiffany Jenks? I guess not. Oh, did I lose you? Oh, I hope not.
Oops.
Oh, no. Oh, you're back. Yeah. Have you been following the case?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I lost you for a second.
Yeah.
Did I follow who?
John S. Captain and Tiffany Jenks.
No, I don't know that much about that.
You would love it. You would love it. It's a fascinating story. The girl, she was murdered up there in Washington, Seattle, Washington. Portland, Oregon. And he has this theory now that she was a monarch slave, mind control victim, and there was a big conspiracy. The Illuminati did it, and all this kind of stuff like that. But the more we look into this, it's looking really hinky. Okay.
It could be. I mean, I wouldn't rule it out immediately.
Yeah. Well, we've got all the police reports and all the confessions and stuff like that. I'll send you some links to it. It's a fascinating story, and some new developments coming up. Well, we're almost out of time. What are you doing these days? No more United? No, just the book, right? No more blog or anything? Nothing?
No, I wrote a play that was produced off Broadway in 2009, and then I've been writing screenplays that have been rejected, so I'm still working on some writing projects, and I also have a business that I run out of my house. I'm a broker for various different things, and I have I'm involved with a little bit of an ad agency. I do some website development and just some things that I learned over the years that I make a little side job out of. And my son's starting a high school. I mean, he's starting his senior year, and I have a daughter who's in college, and so that's pretty busy too. So
yeah.
Otherwise, that's the writing projects have all been screenplays or theatrical stuff.
And if people want to get a hold of you and yell at you about Scott Peterson, how would they find you?
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter and I don't block. This is the first person I've ever blocked on Twitter. It was this girl from the Muttville. But I'm at Loretta Dillon, LORETTADILLON at Twitter, and DM me or just find me out there, and I will definitely correspond with anybody who's interested.
Loretta Dillon, thank you so much. The book, the new book is called Still Stone Cold Guilty, and the original one is Stone Cold Guilty: The People versus Scott Lee Peterson. Thank you so much, sweetie. You really brought back a lot of memories. Thank you very much.
All right, talk to you again. Thanks. Bye, Ed.
Okay, well, there you had Loretta Dillon, Stone Cold Guilty: The People versus Scott Lee Peterson. And I remember that blog. I remember her blog, and it was cool. It was Confessions of a Misfit. or Observations of a Misfit. Yeah, those were the days, man. Those were wild, wild times. So like I said, I had a little involvement in this case. There was some internet defamation going on, and I was hired by representatives of people being defamed in that case. So I had some activity in it, and a couple of my reports tracing down and identifying people on the internet and locating copyright violations and stuff in that overall Peterson case, and identifying people and bloggers and posters and stuff. And my report somehow, because it wasn't for the defense, it was for the other side, somehow got into the hands of Mark Geragos, because after that he had started recommending my work to people, and he recommended me to a very high-profile celebrity at one point, and also to this other woman who had a case where it was very interesting, because when I caught her stalker, he was he was a patient in a hospital. And he had some kind of illness or something. He was checked into a hospital, and when I tracked him down at the hospital there, they would accuse me of violating HIPAA violations and Privacy Act violations because I named him as being a patient in the hospital. So that was a little kind of hectic kind of situation there as well. And then also, too, I did some exclusive work. All that stuff you hear about them talking about, the drug connections, which is totally my theory. I was the first one to come up with that. It just jumped right out at me. The chemicals he was transporting was androgenous hydroxide, which is a chemical used in methamphetamine production. There was no reason for it to be, because the fertilizer he was selling was much more expensive and it wasn't as good as local fertilizers. And it was very bizarre, too, that this company, Trade Corp, bought, right before all this, they bought a company in Mexico, and they bought another company in California, and then they put Scott Peterson in charge of this whole thing, this goofy guy with no background in any kind of doing any of this kind of stuff, too. It's just a lot of shady stuff going on there. Anyway. And then when she would mention, too, all the stuff about the quit claims with the parents and the post office boxes, a lot of indications of stuff that you see with money laundering and transactions like that. If you like the show, go to OppermanReport.com. We have a members section with a lot of great new content in there all the time you can find. I got a lot of big stuff coming up with Steve Bannon. We uncovered some stuff with him involving meth production and porn production at his home there in Florida. Also indications of or allegations of human trafficking, and also, too, some exclusive information we have about sex device catalogs being sent to the house under his name. So that's some kind of exclusive information we have there for you. Did an information with Jamie, with Jose Lambier about Epstein and Trump down there in Palm Beach. Some pretty good stuff there, too. And there's one I just did. What did I just tape yesterday? I'm so tired these days. You have no idea how exhausted I am, man. I can barely keep up with what I'm doing. I'm working on a ton of stuff, okay? So stay tuned. And if you want to help support, we need donations, or you can sponsor the show. We're hitting... I was just telling you about a week ago or 2 weeks ago that we hit 3 million downloads and plays in a combination of Spreaker and YouTube, and since then it's like 3,300,000. It's just like the numbers are just incredibly increasing so fast. And we got a problem too, because YouTube now is totally we make no money off of YouTube at all anymore. So if you listen on YouTube, this is a heads up, because our days are numbered on YouTube. So keep an eye out if you listen on YouTube. Go to Spreaker.com and find Opperman Report, or Google Opperman Report and find one of the other platforms we're on, like Podbean or Stitcher or Spreaker or iHeart, in order to keep up with the shows. And also to all the live stations we're on. You can always find us live on Saturday nights or Friday nights on People's Internet Radio, on American Freedom Radio, on Public Streaming Network, PSN Radio, awakeradio.us, IPM Nation. A whole bunch of stations carry us during the week. Para X plays us up on both Saturday nights and Sunday nights. So if you listen on YouTube, heads up, okay, we're not going to be there for much longer, because they've demonetized everything, and it's just a total hassle dealing with them at this point. So it's not worth the time, to tell you the truth. All right, guys, thank you so much. OppermanReport.com. That's where the members section is, where you